This week on Dumb Pitches, my guest is Wilfred Padua, and he tells us about getting his master's in fine arts. So almost 6 figures in debt for no reason. Here we go. Dumb Pitches.
What a bunch of dumb pitches. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to another episode of Dumb Pitches with Monica Nevi. I'm Monica Nevi, your host. This is the show where we talk to successful people about their worst ideas. I'm very excited for your guest who's already just making fun of me in his head for being a good host.
You turned into
such a different person. Wilfred Padua is here. Yeah.
Hey, it's me. Congratulations, you guys.
And in studio, they love it when people are in studio for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, someone asked if they could do our podcast remote, and I was like, fuck that. No.
It says, depending on, it can be really good if the guest like has a good setup, but sometimes people don't.
Yeah,
so
but it's also
like,
the chemistry thing. It's like, it's so stilted and like there's so much talking over each other.
Yeah, that is true.
I hated it when I was doing podcasts remote. I would do podcasts remotely in New York because we were all afraid of COVID.
Oh, but other people are still in New York.
Yeah, and I was like, let's go outdoors.
Sure.
Let's, like, who cares?
Something.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, good. Now you're double lucky because he's right here.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, what the hell was that?
What the fuck, Blake?
It's not being picked up?
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. So we just, anyways. All
that
right.
was fucking hot riffs. What the hell?
We like to start the show by giving people your good ideas, your credits, so they know you haven't only had bad ideas. Wilfred Padua, very hilarious comedian. We met here in Seattle, but you live in New York, and
we've been knowing each other for too long now.
Yeah, I would say.
Also, Seattle U alum.
Yes, probably 12 years. I would think that's how long I've been doing stand-up. So probably.
Yeah.
In there, but
you've been doing it for 12?
Yeah.
Oh, I have too. Fuck.
Or did we start at around the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe within the first couple years we met. So
yeah.
But you've done plenty of things, lots of festivals, Bumbershoot, Bridgetown, Sketchfest. You've been on Amazon, NPR, Sirius XM. You were in Thrillist. While you're here in Seattle this weekend doing some shows at Laughs Comedy Club.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Seattle area, go see those.
Yes.
And
buy your tickets right now.
Also have a newer podcast.
We have
new.
Yeah.
Called The Known Zone, and it's you and Andy Haynes, who has also been a guest in studio on this show.
Was he a good guest?
He was a good guest.
Okay.
It was
because if he wasn't, then bleep his name.
Don't associate me with him. No, we had a fun time. Actually,
What was his bad idea?
Well, first of all, he told us that he was like $50,000 in credit card debt, which was crazy. And then that to like make money, he found this like crystal stand in the middle of Utah. Like,
what?
Remembers it. And so he like went home to LA and then got some of his friends and they went back and he was like, I'm going to buy these here and then sell them at farmer's market in LA.
What?
But then the lady like wasn't there or something, so he just lost all his money trying to go and get the crystals. And he said he still had some, like he bought the little bit that
there was a huge crystal that he owned when we lived together.
There you go.
It's like this
that
big.
Was probably it. He said he still had some of them, and he was like,
I was like, what is this, Andy? Why do you own it?
He wouldn't tell you.
I actually never brought it up. I was just like, this is kind of weird. But he's also dated a lot of crystal type girls.
Yeah, and he's a bit of a hippie anyway. So yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
that's crazy. I never knew that about him. I thought he'd be like, I started a podcast with this Filipino guy, and it's not going to go that good.
It's not going well. No, that's more intricate. The Known Zone, that's what you're so you can check that out right after this.
Yes, stop listening now. Click over.
Before we get to the good part, which is your bad idea.
Yeah.
So when I sent you kind of the criteria, what was your bad idea?
My bad idea?
Yes.
Was that I went and got an MFA in writing.
Okay.
And
which is a Master's of Fine Arts, right?
Yes. Are your listeners that dumb?
No. Well, my show is called Dumb Pitches, so
okay,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who we attract.
Yes, I got
and Blake and I have decided that every once in a while, every few episodes, I should call it Dumb Bitches and see if anybody notices.
Oh, yeah. I went and got an MFA in writing in 2011 in Chicago.
Okay.
Immediately was regretting it. Like you have to meet with your academic advisor every 2 weeks, I think. And my first meeting was, I think this is a mistake.
Just from the get-go.
Yeah. Because I was like, I wanted to write comedy.
I was going to say, what was the intention of getting that? Was just for comedy?
For comedy, maybe become a TV writer. And then, so I was like, oh, I'm going to write comedy. And then I was alongside a bunch of poets and art kids who were losers. And I hated all of them. Like, those aren't my people.
Yeah.
You know?
I struggle with that too. Because in comedy, sometimes you get this crossover of like a drama kid,
theater
kid, or like someone who did improv before and did theater before that, and that's not my background at all.
No.
And so I struggle a lot.
You have no performance skills.
No performance background at all. I was an athlete. I mean,
you're an athlete. You're a good joke writer.
Pretty performance based. You haven't seen me in a long time. But that's not my background at all. So there's a different energy, there's a different vibe about people who started in more of a fine arts background.
Well, it's like they seem more hopeful.
That's true. Yeah.
And
they're nicer to each other, obviously.
Yeah. Where I think I got in, the whole reason I couldn't hang out with them was because I was not hopeful. Like, I was so cynical the whole time.
I'm going to get my master's so that I can fail.
Yeah. And so every 2 weeks I'd check in with my academic advisor and was like, I should drop out. And then I never did. And now I'm about 6 figures in debt. But hey,
I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's hard to do. How long was that program?
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And you did stand up while you were in Chicago?
Yeah, I wasn't doing it as much though, because I had started about 6 months before.
Okay.
While in Seattle, moved out there, and then I was mostly doing MFA shit.
What was your undergrad in?
Writing.
Okay.
So I mean, I've got no job prospects.
You're like, let's just keep
forever.
with this.
Yeah.
What was your advisor telling you that was making you like stick around, or what was their reaction when you're like, I think I should quit?
The first time she was like, yeah, maybe.
She's like, sure.
She was like really honest about it. She's like, yeah, I mean, if this isn't for you, this isn't for you. And then I was like, but my first thought was, well, I'm already like $4,000 in debt because of this semester.
Right. Just
or whatever. Maybe it was more. I don't know. And then I was just like, well, let's at least get the degree and make sure that it's worth it.
It does feel like you wasted, like I used to think about that when you like wouldn't go to class or something, like, oh, I wasted $1,000 not going to this class or whatever. But not that it mattered.
I do, I mean, now that I'm older and at some point had a lot of money, I've wasted $4,000 on crypto. Like I would have, I wish that I had just left, like right there.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, that would have been, that's fine. That's just a mistake. That's funny so then as you keep meeting with her and you're like still not into it, is she now being like, well,
at
you
some
have
point
some
you
sort
have
of prospects?
to quit complaining.
Okay.
And then just like, talk about what is actually happening. So I just kept on, like, no one was funny. I mean, I'm in a fucking art school. No one's funny in an art school. No one has any sense of humor at all. They were concerned because I was the one that was not being, like, taught anything useful. So they did bring in, they had a comedy writing class, and it was like a cartoonist from the New Yorker was the teacher, and it was Ken something. I don't remember what his last name is.
Which is great, but just a different
it's not even
type
close
of writing.
I mean, me doing open mics for a year and a half was more educational. Like I could have taught that class having done open mics better than him having written one tiny line
under this cute drawing.
Yeah, 4 tiny lines a month that he submits and gets rejected. Yeah. So, and that class was like, it was fine, but like, I didn't learn anything about being funny or like how to be funny or
how to write. So was that your intention of going in and being like, this will help with my stand up, or were you like, I want to I've been working on these pilots or a book.
I think
or
it was
something.
for like TV writing, but then I was also, here's the thing, I'm a really lazy guy, and I'm gonna skate by. Like I can get by, but in this case, I like my thesis was you're supposed to write some document that's 100-something pages, right? And some of the pages were just like one joke.
Then you flip to the next one.
It was one joke in a pretty font.
And that counted?
And then it did count because I did it artistically.
I guess arts, yeah, you're like, it's
'Cause
subjective. It's whatever you
what
think
you
it
do
is.
is you don't put it at the top of the page. You put it like you put
It's
it
off-center.
it's off center and towards the bottom, and that was
I wrote a 120-page thesis that each page is just one
yeah.
sentence.
I had like maybe like 8 sketches in there that
Okay.
were they were not funny enough for me to
You.
even try to like punch up right now. Like the premise is too simple, and like it was like an improv scene that wasn't bad.
Okay.
That's what those sketches were.
I thought, you know what I'm so interested about this, and maybe it's just because we've known each other for so long, though. I thought it was so cool that you had lived in Chicago and that you had like done, like I didn't know you were going for writing. So I just thought you were in school for, I don't know, something else. Like, because I started stand-up when I was still at Seattle U.
Yeah.
So I just thought like, oh, and I was like, Chicago's such a cool comedy city. Like, that's so cool. Like, I thought it was really cool that you were there. But now knowing that this is why, it's kind
here's the thing.
changed.
I came back and everyone was like, oh, Wilfred's better and he's funnier. And no, I wasn't.
Well, maybe it's been 2 years.
No way.
Or
I was
whatever,
like
right?
doing stand-up once a month. There's no way. I had just
They just
written
don't
like
remember.
a different 6 minutes in the 2 years. And then everyone was like, Wilfred's better. He's really, and like it was, I think while I was away, maybe the comedy scene got worse or something, but I showed up and then
Real optimist, by the way.
tricked everyone that I was good. And then because I immediately started getting work when I came back.
Yeah.
And but I think about it, like if I just spent that 2 years actually doing stand-up, I would have been much further along.
Probably, yeah. Especially, I mean, yeah, that was it. Being in Chicago or wherever, you go to other scenes and it teaches you something different.
It did help to have to start over again. Because if you're going to relocate and then start over again in another city, it's tough. And you have to, if you work your way through that, you're a much better comedian.
Yeah.
On the other end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or
you quit,
Yeah.
You quit and figure out.
Either one is fine. Okay. If you're
Yes, absolutely. If you want to quit comedy, fucking do it, brother. Like it's
Please, no.
It's not cool. I mean, I'm 36. Been doing stand up 12 years now.
Yeah.
A third of my life. And
I hadn't thought about it like that.
It's at the point where I'm like, I should figure out how to really support a family at some point, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Like I'm gonna have to.
I mean, is that something you're looking to do? Have a family and those things?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's like I'd like to have a lady in my life, and then if she wants a baby, I'll keep it in.
This is the most Blake's ever reacted to someone, to be honest. a good laugh from Blake is good, but he's over there like
he's also
just making
being
noises.
Like, oh God, no.
Okay, but I mean, yeah, that does make you kind of figure out how to do this in a different way.
Yeah.
From a financial standpoint. If
Yeah,
that's what you
and
want,
I was kind of just like dicking around in New York, and like my goals for moving to New York were so like. They're so artsy. Because one of my main goal was like, I just want to be a part of the New York comedy scene. That alone is a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it's kind of a subjective thing too. Like, how do you measure
I want to
that?
be like in the midst of it. I want to be
Right.
I want
And
my
people
peers
know
to
who
be the
you
best
are and
in the world. And then I'm there, but that doesn't help you financially.
Yeah. That's fair.
But yeah, so now, I've got the podcast. I've got road dates again. I'm not just like, I also went through like a little bit of depression from the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because I got really used to sitting on my couch.
And just being inside. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard to not sit on a couch.
Yeah. I mean, I still really incorporate that into my life a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's part of the part of being Wilfred didn't know I was married until I got here, but part of my life is
she's a lesbian.
I put we've known each other for 12 years, never talked though at all. We put our son to bed at 8, so we go to bed at that time. Like that's like
you go to bed at 8?
Pretty much. I mean, we go up because our house is 2 stories.
What do you do when you're doing stand-up? You just yawn through the whole show?
It's interesting. Now I think that my like schedule is so much what it is.
It's still daylight
that Thursday,
at 8.
Friday, Saturday, I'm like back to staying up till at least midnight, and then you know. But I can't sleep in anymore. I wake up. Before 8 every day.
I usually I sleep in now. But when I like had a job and also did stand up, you know, you wake up at 6. I nap for 2 hours after work.
Yeah.
I used to rush home just to take a good nap.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole thing. It is tough now when I have shows at night during the week and our son is there. And then I have to go, like I do all the parenting stuff. He do all our stuff, whatever, and then get them wherever they need to be.
What does your partner do?
And then I go, she works for our credit union.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so normal 9 to 5, and she works remotely a couple of days a week, so that's helpful. But
okay. Dude, coming back and like hanging out with my family, I'm like so happy I didn't take the conventional route. Yeah. Because it's so, I hope my family never listens to this. They're so boring. They're like.
There are parts of it that I am jealous of a little bit.
Oh, sure. Stability, comfort.
Yeah, for sure. But even the like, you know, like I spend a lot of my day doing stuff and still knowing like, oh, I have to go to work later.
Yeah.
Like the idea of being done with stuff earlier is kind of cool. Yeah. Like I always thought it was so boring to be like, oh, you get home at 5 and then what? You just have dinner and sit there, you know, like whatever. Yeah. And then sometimes I'm like, well, that sounds actually pretty fucking nice. Like,
it would be nice to, I constantly think that I wish that I could, we could do stand up at 11 a.m.
Yeah. Yes.
And then, you know, starting at 3, I can, you know, go on a hike or some shit like that.
Yeah. Yes. And then be done by whatever. So that's what I think COVID did it a little bit where there's like some earlier shows now, you know, like a 5 p.m. show. And then if I'm like, that's the only one I have, that's
those
great.
Stink,
then I'm
though.
done.
Everyone's all
it's
sober
fucking
and
older
and nice
and sober. Yeah. But even some clubs now are like 7 and 9:30, which on the West Coast wasn't like that before. It was always like 8 and 10:30. So I like being done earlier, but that's Yeah,
yesterday I got done. I snuck in a show in Port Orchard. I drove out there. There's like 11 audience members, and I was like, what is my career
there
about
you
me
go. Road stuff, which you're like, oh, this is a terrible show, but sometimes those pay more than
they paid.
Yeah, more.
And I was like, I wish that I didn't need this $300. Yeah. But I do, and so I took the money, and it was just like, but then the show started at 7. I got home, and I was like driving home in daylight.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I did Doug Loves Movies last Sunday, and I was like, oh yeah, 4:20, because that's like the thing. I was like, we were done by 6. Yeah. That's great.
Dude, when I did Doug Loves Movies, I bombed so hard.
You know, I got my ass kicked, but I was funny, so that helped.
I wasn't either of
Jeff
those things.
Tate, who apparently wins all the time, and then motherfucking Ken Jennings.
Yeah, I was on you did it here?
Yeah, I did it here.
Yeah, I did the same thing where like the Moor or something like that.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, fucking just.
And going in, I was like, well, I'm clearly not gonna win. Like that's not. I don't.
But it seemed like it felt like there was I was a nervous, like younger comedian, but I felt like there was like a culture that I didn't understand. All of the audience is in on these things.
All the chants and all these different things. I did get them to chant for me, so that was helpful. But it's also like older movies. Like they talk, you know, like you got your knowledge of movies if it goes back far enough, which everyone on that panel is considerably older than I am. And I was like, well, fuck. Here we go.
Yeah. Ken Jennings, that guy. What's he doing now? Is he hosting Jeopardy?
He's hosting Jeopardy, yeah. Which we talked about most of the podcast, to be honest, about just different Jeopardy stuff. And Doug had a lot of questions.
Man, we should have tried to get Ken on our. We were thinking about Andy's in town too, so we were thinking about recording. But
I think he lives in Edmonds.
Oh yeah, we hit up Amanda Knox.
Did she say anything?
I don't know.
She's done podcasts before.
I'm sure she's has.
Also because she came to the Secret Show once.
Yeah, she's done. She came to.
Have you heard that story?
Yeah.
This was pretty soon after the documentary came out about her.
Yeah.
And she was there, which she used to come to shows a lot.
Hey, she used to come to shows.
Dating a guy who was friends with comics or something like that. They might even be married
That
now.
dude was like, was it that guy that dressed like Riff Raff?
Yeah. Yeah. So they were there in the front. They
I
were
hope she
being
didn't
great.
marry him.
I told...
Just for her. I mean, I hope she...
Let's see if she's going to do your podcast now.
Yeah.
We told Jeff Dye and Brant Tobler they were in town, and I was like, hey, come drop in. The secret show's for people to drop in. And we were like, Amanda Knox is here sitting in the front row. And they were like, oh, we'll be here, right?
Yeah.
And so Brant goes up, and Brant has written a book about this, but he lived in Vegas for a long time. His dad's kind of a mess, and at some point he tries to kill his dad. And so he's telling the story on stage about they're in the garage with a golf club trying to kill his dad.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then there's blood
everywhere. The garage
everywhere.
is in Italy, probably.
He's like, there's blood everywhere. And then he looks at her and he goes, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then just keeps and everyone was like, what the fuck? Oh, God. It was hilarious. But then Jeff gets up and kind of goes, aren't you someone famous? He knows who she fucking is. Obviously, we already talked about it. Aren't you someone famous? And she's like, like being like, no.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have a really good memory. Like, I'm pretty sure you're someone famous. And she's like, no, I don't know. And then he kind of lets it go. But then afterwards, they talked for like 45 minutes. So.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Jeff is like so affable and handsome. Anyone wants to look in his eyes for 45 minutes.
Yeah, her boyfriend, husband should have been worried then. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she's like, does stuff or whatever. I think she has a podcast.
I think she's like we looked up her Wikipedia.
That's helpful.
And I don't know. She's never going to do our podcast. It's whatever.
I mean, it's good to ask.
We just thought it would
now
be
I'm like,
funny.
Who else could you get on your podcast when I'm like, I haven't even had these people on my podcast here, but.
Yeah, I mean, Ken could have been one.
Yeah.
I think we reached out to Macklemore.
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. And then we're just like, let's not even do a podcast.
Like, whatever.
We'll just wait till we're back in New York.
Yeah, that's makes sense. Okay, but I have a couple more questions about the Masters.
Oh, okay.
Do you feel like it helped you at all?
As a life experience,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
In that, like, because I grew up in Seattle,
Right.
or in the area, went to Seattle U, which was like a 7-minute walk from my high school. So, I didn't really challenge myself.
Did you go to O'Day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catholic through and through.
And then went to, and then when I finally moved to Chicago, I'm the only person in my family that's left the Seattle area, and I was like, it was tough. It definitely was tough. Like felt very lonely all the time, but it was like a good thing to go through.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's a really good point. I feel like that I spent 3 years in Los Angeles, and a lot of my decisions.
I think
to
I stayed at your
move-
apartment while you weren't there.
I remember you staying there one or twice.
Did you live with Mitch, right? And
Mitch and Mike, yeah.
Yeah.
Coletta. I hadn't lived anywhere else either. I mean, I was from close to here, and then
and then you
went
moved to
Seattle
the
U,
Valley. Ugh, gross.
Well, we moved to Central Hollywood first, but we lived in a studio. There is this thing about stand-up comedians, and I don't know if or just artists, but about thinking like shit's got to be really bad for you to like pay your dues, and like I really don't think that's true.
I don't think it should be.
Yeah.
But I still have this mentality where it's like I like going through rough shit.
Yeah, I'll fucking grind and make it worse than it needs to be to save some money or whatever.
I romanticize like hard times.
Yeah.
A lot.
I don't know if that's just stand up. I think there is a tortured artist kind of thing with a lot of.
Are there like tortured bankers?
I'm sure there are, but I don't know if they have like this rite
tortured
of passage
tech
kind of thing.
Guys.
Yeah.
I mean, there are tortured
IT,
tech guys for sure.
for
yeah.
sure,
They're
but-
just like, oh, why won't you fuck me?
Yeah, that's just a bad role, though. That's not necessary for you to be in tech.
Yeah.
Or at least not thought of that way. Tortured bankers. I mean, anyway. Yeah, I felt like that a lot in LA like if I was choosing just to have my life be a certain way, this wouldn't be it.
Sure.
But I think this is necessary for doing stand-up. But in reality, what happened was it just gave me a better perspective on places and living somewhere else and what I wanted and what I could do not there. Actually, that was a huge thing because everything I've created I actually made here even when I was living there.
Well, you were like a road dog when you were out there.
Yeah, a lot of that, and which is, I mean, that's how I provide for my family here, you know, but everything else that I've done too, I came back here and did.
When you moved to LA, what did you think was going to be the path?
I think at the time I was really interested in TV writing, and did some of that and hung out with people I thought might be helpful with that, and then kind of quickly decided that I preferred more of like a non-scripted type of thing.
It's so funny how naive we are when we move somewhere. I was like, okay, so I'm going to live in New York for 2 years because I'm pretty sure I'll be plucked into fame or like, you know, some sort.
Yeah.
I'll be writing on a TV show within 2 years, and then look at where I'm at now.
That's the thing. Like going down, I knew, and I still know that like stand up is what I like to do and what I love and what I'll continue to do. And so going there was like, oh, well, this is all the other stuff. Maybe I'll act. I've never wanted to act like ever. And I was like, but maybe it'll just happen.
I did do a voiceover thing recently and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun.
I get why voiceover makes sense.
Is
I'm
hella
like,
fun.
I'm going to do this in the corner of my bedroom and like, great.
Yeah.
But I learned a ton about different, you know, people doing different shit and writing different stuff and what you can and can't do and whatever. And now it just continues to get more of, you can create your own stuff and what that is very beneficial in comparison to other. I mean, now, you know, moving to LA and being like, okay, I'll get on a network show is like not as helpful if you're, you know, because for me, and I don't know if you felt similarly, but it's like I want to do these other things so that people will come and see me do stand up. Like
absolutely.
that's it. So if that's
I want to stop like performing at casinos. Where like, you know,
no one knew there was a show and they're playing slots and shit.
Yeah, they're just
they still
at
pay
this
you
place
better
to
than
not lose money.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, casinos. I don't know if it'll
I would love to finally have my audience show up.
Yeah.
But also I'm like wondering who those people are.
Yeah.
Who do I like who are the people that want to see me?
Yeah.
Do
sometimes
stand-up?
it's not fun to find out, but you never know.
Oh yeah, because most of the people that like you know, like the Come Down guys, the like Stavros, all these guys are like, man, my audience. I should probably not say this part, but
well,
but they're like,
no, we had Brad Upton on the other day, and he was like, because he's blown up from Dry Bar. That he's like, you know, some of the people that come and see me, he goes, you know, I'll click on their profiles when I see them on Facebook, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
But that's your own fan base, so you can't. That's a weird relationship you have. You're like, I'm happy that you're here and you like me, but also why
you're
are you
a
like
fucking
this?
Idiot.
Yeah.
I would never hang. Yeah, a lot of these guys would never hang out with their fans.
No.
But the thing is, what's so funny is they think that
you're supposed to make them think that that's like what
they think
we're
that
best
they're friends with
or
you.
whatever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This is not gonna go good, like in terms of reception from
They're
your
like,
audience.
well, we're not listening.
Yeah, your audience
Except
is like,
for
wait,
my
I
fans.
thought I am
you
friends
guys are
with Monica.
So cool, and I would. And to be honest, I mean,
you should hear what she says
when
when
a good YouTube.
This is not recording.
Following during the pandemic, and they're all very cool.
Yeah, like we had Mark on our podcast, which like I'll admit wasn't the best episode, but the people that were all like commenting, why would Mark do their podcast? His friend, and was like, it's because he's friends with us. He's
above this. And you're like, no, we're actually friends. Like,
and he is above it. He's absolutely, but
that's the only
came in
said, yes,
as a
he
friend
know you. Yeah,
because he wanted to help us.
That's great.
Yeah. So. And Monica, yes, she is friends with all of you.
I am.
Yes. If you want her address, I'll say it out loud later.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this has been fun. Where can people follow you if they want to come and see you live? Where can they find the podcast and all that stuff? Plug yourself.
At Wilfred Padua. That's my name. And at the Known Zone Pod, I think.
Oh.
I think that's what it is. And then subscribe to our shit on YouTube and, wherever the hell they have podcasts. The Known Zone with Wilfred Padua and Andy Haynes.
There you go.
And I think I don't know where I'm going to be. I'll be in Texas in August at some point.
Post your stuff and people will come and find you.
Yeah. I'm starting to hit the socials real hard. Because that's what we are. We're influencers. We're not comedians. Yeah. We're influencers.
We're influencers that do stand up sometimes.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe if you haven't already. We have YouTube memberships if you want these episodes a day before and bonus episodes.
Whoa.
And stuff. Yeah, look at us. And yeah. Or if you're listening, that's the other one. If you're listening, rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff. But right now, you can just keep watching Dumb Pitches.
You're weird.
Yes.